My dear sister, have you ever noticed that some people leave your life quietly, without conflict or drama, and instead of pain, your heart feels lighter? That is not coincidence. That is Allah protecting you. Sometimes Allah does not expose harmful people publicly. He protects you by sharpening your awareness, teaching you to see beyond smiles, words, and appearances. He gives you the ability to sense danger before it reaches your heart. If you have learned to step back without explanation, to trust your intuition, and to guard your peace, then understand this clearly. Your silence is not weakness, it is Allah's mercy surrounding you. 1. She feels uneasy around certain people without a clear reason. My dear sister, Allah has created you with a fitrah, a pure inner nature that recognizes truth, danger, and sincerity long before the mind gathers evidence. This fitrah is not random, and it is not imagination. It is a gift from Allah. One of the earliest and most powerful signs that Allah is quietly protecting you is when you feel uneasy around certain people without being able to explain why. They may speak kindly, they may appear religious, they may smile, help, and even praise you. Yet something inside you feels unsettled. Your heart does not feel at ease. Your chest tightens, your thoughts become restless, and the peace you normally carry begins to fade in their presence. This discomfort often confuses women because we are taught to be polite, forgiving, and accommodating. You may tell yourself, they did nothing wrong, or I should not judge, or maybe this is just my weakness. But understand this clearly. Allah does not disturb your heart without reason. When your soul senses harm, it is often because Allah is allowing you to feel what your eyes cannot yet see. This is not paranoia, this is not overthinking. This is divine protection working quietly. The heart has its own intelligence. The Prophet ﷺ taught us that hearts recognize truth and falsehood even before words are spoken. Sometimes a person's intentions are hidden, but their spiritual presence is not. Harmful people often carry envy, control, arrogance, or insincerity deep inside, and while they may hide it with manners or religious language, your fitrah senses the contradiction. Allah allows your heart to feel heavy so you do not walk blindly into harm. When Allah loves a servant, He sharpens her awareness. He makes her sensitive not just to what harms her body, but to what harms her soul. This is why you may feel drained after interacting with certain people, even if the conversation seemed normal. Your energy feels taken, your clarity feels clouded, your calm disappears. That is your sign. Allah is saying, be careful, protect yourself. Do not force closeness where Allah is creating distance. Do not shame yourself for stepping back. Islam does not teach us to ignore our God-given intuition. It teaches us to balance mercy with wisdom. You are not required to explain yourself to everyone. You are not required to keep access open to those who disturb your peace. Sometimes protection does not come in the form of removing people immediately. Sometimes Allah protects you by making your heart uncomfortable enough that you slowly, quietly, and safely move away. My dear sister, that discomfort is not a curse, it is mercy. It is Allah standing between you and harm without making noise. Trust it, respect it, and thank Allah for a heart that still feels, still senses, and still listens to Him. 2. She does not overshare even when she is kind. My dear sister, one of the quiet ways Allah protects a woman is by teaching her restraint, especially with her words. She may be warm, polite, caring, and respectful, but she does not reveal everything about herself to everyone. She does not open her heart simply because someone listens. She does not expose her wounds simply because someone asks questions kindly. This is not coldness. This is wisdom placed in her by Allah. Many harmful people do not hurt you immediately. They first gather information. They ask about your past, your struggles, your fears, your family, your plans, and your weaknesses. Sometimes they do this with sympathy, sometimes with concern, sometimes with religious language. A protected woman senses this, even if she cannot fully explain it. Allah places a pause in her tongue. She feels an inner hesitation before speaking too much. She answers politely but briefly. She keeps parts of her life private, not out of secrecy, but out of self-respect. Islam does not require you to make your pain public. Not every listener is a healer. Not every smiling face is safe. Allah protects this woman by reminding her that intimacy is earned, not given. She understands that trust is built over time through consistency and character, not through emotional conversations alone. So she shares in layers. She observes before she reveals. She watches how people handle small truths before giving them access to bigger ones. This woman has often learned, either through experience or divine guidance, that oversharing can become a weapon in the hands of the wrong people. Words spoken in vulnerability can later be twisted, repeated, or used to control and shame. Allah shields her from this by teaching her silence. Silence does not mean she has nothing to say. It means she knows when not to speak. She also understands that her relationship with Allah is her safest space. She pours her deepest fears, tears, and confusions into dua, not into unstable hearts. She seeks counsel from people of wisdom, not from those who simply want access to her story. This choice protects her dignity and preserves her peace. My dear sister, if you feel naturally reserved despite being kind, do not feel guilty. This is not pride, this is protection. Allah is teaching you that you do not owe everyone an explanation, an emotional breakdown, or a full picture of your life. Kindness does not require self-exposure. You can be gentle without being open to harm. You can be loving without being vulnerable to everyone. When Allah protects a woman, He teaches her that silence can be a form of worship and restraint can be a form of strength. And in that restraint, He keeps her safe. 3. She recognizes patterns, not just words. My dear sister, one of the greatest forms of protection Allah grants a woman is clarity. Harmful people often do not reveal themselves through a single action or a single sentence. They reveal themselves over time. This is why Allah protects this woman by teaching her to look beyond words and focus on patterns. Words can be rehearsed, words can be sweet, words can be religious, but patterns do not lie. She listens carefully, but she watches even more carefully. She notices how a person behaves when they are praised and when they are ignored. She notices how they treat people who cannot benefit them. She observes whether their kindness is consistent or only appears when it serves their interests. Allah gives her the ability to connect these small details that others overlook, and through this awareness, she avoids harm before it reaches her. Many harmful people are skilled speakers. They know how to apologize without changing. They know how to promise without delivering. They know how to blame others while appearing innocent. A protected woman does not become emotionally attached to potential. She does not say, maybe they will change, while ignoring repeated behavior. Allah teaches her that repeated actions reveal intentions more clearly than repeated apologies. She also understands that religious language does not automatically equal good character. A person may quote Quran, speak about Allah, and appear outwardly righteous, yet still carry arrogance, manipulation, or cruelty in their behavior. This woman does not become confused by appearances. She knows that true faith shows itself in humility, accountability, and consistent adab. When words and actions do not align, her heart quietly steps back. This awareness does not make her harsh or judgmental. It makes her careful. She does not confront unnecessarily. She does not accuse recklessly. She simply adjusts her level of closeness. She limits access. She protects her peace. Allah teaches her that not everyone deserves the same level of intimacy, and this understanding saves her from emotional harm. My dear sister, when Allah protects you, He trains your eyes and your heart to work together. You begin to see patterns that explain why certain people always leave you drained, confused, or hurt. You stop making excuses for behavior that repeatedly harms you. You stop doubting yourself when the same pain appears again and again from the same source. This clarity is not coldness, it is mercy. It is Allah removing the veil from your understanding so you can walk safely through life. When you learn to trust patterns over promises, Allah protects you from being deceived by beautiful words that carry harmful intentions. 4. She is not easily provoked or controlled. My dear sister, one of the strongest signs that Allah is quietly protecting you is emotional stability. Harmful people rely on reactions. They study what makes you angry, what makes you feel guilty, what makes you anxious, and what makes you desperate to explain yourself. Once they find the emotional buttons, they press them repeatedly in order to control you. But a woman under Allah's protection does not give them that power. This does not mean she never feels pain or anger. She feels deeply, but she does not allow her emotions to rule her actions. Allah teaches her restraint. She pauses before reacting. She reflects before responding. She understands that every reaction feeds something, either peace or chaos. Because of this awareness, harmful people find her difficult to manipulate. They cannot predict her responses, and they cannot pull her into emotional traps. Many people attempt to control others through guilt. They remind you of favors they have done. They question your loyalty. They frame your boundaries as selfishness. But this woman has learned, through Allah's guidance, that setting boundaries does not mean she lacks compassion. It means she respects herself. She no longer feels obligated to sacrifice her peace in order to keep others comfortable. This makes controlling people uncomfortable, because control only works when someone is emotionally reactive. She also understands that not every argument deserves her energy. Some people provoke not to resolve issues, but to dominate conversations, exhaust you emotionally, or make you doubt yourself. A protected woman recognizes this pattern early. She does not raise her voice to be heard. She does not chase validation. She does not explain herself repeatedly to those who are committed to misunderstanding her. She chooses silence or distance instead, and Allah protects her through that choice. This emotional self-control is deeply connected to tawakkul. She trusts that Allah sees her intentions, even if people misjudge her silence. She trusts that Allah will defend her honor better than her anger ever could. This trust frees her from the need to react to every accusation or insult. When you are protected by Allah, you do not need to fight every battle. Some battles are won by walking away with dignity. My dear sister, this strength often unsettles harmful people. They expect tears, anger, or emotional chaos. When they do not receive it, they feel powerless. They may call you cold. They may accuse you of changing. They may say you are distant. But they are only reacting to the fact that they no longer control your emotional state. Understand this clearly. Calm is not weakness. Silence is not defeat. Restraint is not fear. These are signs of maturity and divine protection. Allah is teaching you how to guard your heart so that no one can dominate it except Him. When Allah protects a woman, He makes her emotionally untouchable. She may still feel pain, but she is no longer ruled by it. And in that inner strength, Allah keeps her safe from those who seek to provoke, drain, or control her. 5. She walks away without announcing it. My dear sister, one of the clearest signs that Allah is quietly protecting a woman is the way He teaches her to leave without noise. When a woman is no longer under Allah's protection, she feels the need to explain herself, to defend her decision, to justify her pain, and to convince others that she is right. But when Allah protects her, He removes this need from her heart. She learns that not everyone deserves an explanation, and not every door needs to be slammed to be closed. This woman does not disappear out of anger or bitterness. She leaves out of clarity. Over time, Allah opens her eyes to patterns, intentions, and emotional harm. She reflects, she prays, she gives chances where appropriate. But when her heart reaches certainty that staying will cost her peace, dignity, or faith, she steps back quietly. She does not announce her departure. She does not accuse. She does not seek applause for choosing herself. She simply becomes less available. This quiet withdrawal confuses harmful people. They were expecting confrontation. They were expecting tears, long messages, emotional explanations, or dramatic reactions. Instead, they are met with calm distance. Conversations become shorter. Access becomes limited. Energy is no longer given freely. The woman remains polite, respectful, and composed, but she is no longer emotionally present. This is not cruelty. This is wisdom taught by Allah. Many women struggle with guilt at this stage. They think walking away silently means they are wrong, unkind, or unforgiving. But my dear sister, Islam does not require you to remain in environments that slowly destroy your peace. Forgiveness does not mean continued access. Patience does not mean tolerating repeated harm. Allah never commands you to stay where your heart is constantly wounded. This woman understands that her silence is not punishment, it is protection. She knows that explaining herself repeatedly to someone who refuses to change only drains her further. She knows that some people listen not to understand, but to argue, manipulate, or twist her words. So Allah teaches her to protect herself by stepping away quietly. In doing so, He protects her from further emotional damage. She also understands that Allah is her defender. She does not need to expose people publicly to feel validated. She does not need to prove her pain for it to be real. She trusts that Allah sees what was hidden, hears what was unspoken, and knows what she endured. This trust gives her the strength to leave with dignity instead of resentment. A woman under Allah's protection also knows that not every relationship ends with closure. Some relationships end with acceptance. She accepts that she may never be understood. She accepts that people may misunderstand her silence. She accepts that others may rewrite the story to make themselves feel better. And she lets it go. She places her reputation, her pain, and her truth in Allah's hands, knowing that His justice is perfect and His timing is precise. This quiet walking away is not weakness. It is growth. It is the sign of a woman who has matured emotionally and spiritually. She no longer needs chaos to feel powerful. She no longer needs arguments to feel heard. She chooses peace over proving a point. And this choice becomes a shield around her soul. My dear sister, when Allah protects a woman, He teaches her when to stay silent, when to speak, and when to leave without saying a word. And sometimes the greatest protection is not removing harmful people loudly, but removing you gently before the harm deepens. That quiet distance you create is Allah's mercy. That calm withdrawal is His protection. And that peace you feel afterward is your confirmation that you chose correctly. 6. She knows your demons, even when you try to hide them. My dear sister, one of the most powerful and unsettling signs that Allah is quietly protecting a woman is this. She sees beyond appearances. She recognizes what others try desperately to conceal. She does not need confessions or evidence. She does not rely on gossip or assumptions. Allah grants her basira, a deep inner clarity that allows her to sense intentions long before actions become obvious. Harmful people often wear masks. They hide insecurity behind confidence, jealousy behind compliments, control behind concern, and manipulation behind religious advice. To the world, they may appear harmless, respectable, or even admirable. But a woman protected by Allah notices what does not align. She feels the tension behind their words. She senses the discomfort behind their smiles. She notices how they subtly diminish others, how they crave control, how they react when they are not admired or obeyed. This woman does not expose people. She does not call them out publicly. She does not shame them or announce what she sees. Her strength is quieter than that. She simply knows. Allah allows her heart to recognize darkness, not to create conflict, but to create distance. This awareness is protection, not judgment. Often, people with hidden demons feel uncomfortable around such a woman. They may feel watched even when she says nothing. They may feel exposed even though she remains respectful. This is because truth has a presence. When someone carries insincerity, envy, or ill intention inside them, being around clarity feels threatening. That is why they may suddenly withdraw, become defensive, or try to undermine her character. Not because she harmed them, but because her presence reflects what they try to hide. My dear sister, this ability does not come from arrogance or self-righteousness. It comes from closeness to Allah. When a woman cleans her heart through sincerity, repentance, prayer, and humility, Allah sharpens her perception. He protects her by allowing her to see what others ignore. This clarity helps her avoid emotional traps, toxic attachments, and relationships that slowly poison the soul. She understands that not everyone who speaks gently has good intentions, and not everyone who quotes religion has a pure heart. She does not become impressed easily. She looks for humility, accountability, and consistency. When these are missing, she quietly steps back. She does not argue with deception, she removes herself from it. This awareness also teaches her mercy. She understands that demons often come from unresolved pain, insecurity, or fear. She does not hate people for what they carry, but she also does not allow herself to be harmed by it. Compassion does not mean self-sacrifice. Islam does not require you to tolerate spiritual or emotional harm to prove your goodness. Allah protects this woman by teaching her one crucial truth. Seeing clearly does not require speaking loudly. She does not need to confront every wrong. She does not need to fix people. She does not need to carry the burden of changing hearts. That responsibility belongs to Allah alone. My dear sister, if you notice that certain people feel uneasy around you, withdraw from you, or subtly attack your character without clear reason, do not be surprised. Sometimes it is not because you are wrong, but because Allah has given you clarity that makes falsehood uncomfortable. This is not something to boast about. It is something to protect. Stay humble. Stay close to Allah. Ask Him to keep your heart pure and your intentions sincere. When Allah protects a woman in this way, He makes her aware enough to stay safe, gentle enough to stay kind, and strong enough to walk away from darkness without becoming part of it. And that, my dear sister, is one of the quietest yet strongest forms of divine protection. My dear sister, if as you listened you felt your heart nodding in recognition, understand that this is not coincidence. These signs are not random traits or personality quirks. They are quiet gifts from Allah. When Allah loves a woman, He does not always remove harmful people from her life immediately. Sometimes He does something even more powerful. He sharpens her awareness, He strengthens her restraint, He deepens her clarity, and through this, He protects her without noise. Allah's protection does not always look dramatic. It often looks like uneasiness that saves you before harm appears. It looks like silence that protects your dignity. It looks like emotional control that prevents manipulation. It looks like quiet distance that preserves your peace. And it looks like clarity that allows you to see what others try to hide without turning you into someone harsh or bitter. My dear sister, never doubt the value of your intuition when it is guided by faith. Allah does not place awareness in your heart to burden you, but to guard you. He does not teach you restraint to silence you, but to protect you. If you have learned to step back without hatred, to walk away without revenge, and to trust Allah without needing validation from people, then know that Allah is holding you close. Remain humble, remain kind, but never apologize for the boundaries Allah helped you build. Not everyone is meant to have access to you. Not everyone deserves your vulnerability, and not everyone who smiles at you is safe for your soul. Turn to Allah often. Speak to Him in your quiet moments. Ask Him to protect your heart from hardness and your eyes from blindness. Ask Him to keep harmful people far. And if they must come near, ask Him to give you the clarity to recognize them and the strength to walk away. And remember this, my dear sister, when Allah protects you, even harm must ask permission before reaching you. And by Allah's mercy, it will not be allowed to stay. May Allah guard your heart, strengthen your wisdom, and surround you with people who bring you closer to Him. Ameen.